Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me this morning. As I come to you today, to talk about tips and tricks, things we've learned in this business. I remain your friend, and I'm borrowing that phrase from my friend Dia. But I'm your friend Olympia or Pia from New York, and I'm so happy to be with you this morning. We're talking about consistency and why that beats talent. And so, when you think about it, um, it's, you know, talent gets the applause. Talent actually gets the applause because you get noticed because you have the talent. And but consistency gets the results. If talent was enough, the most gifted people would always win, but they don't. The winners are the ones who always keep showing up, even when you have so many things going on. You're almost like you're that dependable person. And so we're talking today about the truth most people avoid. So let's just remove the excuses in the room. Consistency does beat talent, not because its talent is useless, but because talent without follow through is just wasted potential. And I think, we have to talk about, sometimes the elephant in the room. Can you imagine yourself being like, and I always say to myself, I have all the tools that I need, but yet, there's always some things personally that, you just don't do. And so is that a trap? I mean, if you're talented, you get every early win. You learn fast, you impress people, you get the praise. And so you start believing you'll be the exception to, when life gets real. Um, when, you imagine yourself when you're at work, the work is repetitive, the process is slow, nobody is clapping. And there might be you might be starting comparing yourself to that person next to you, sitting in that next cubicle, working side by side next to you, because they come off as, oh, she can do it all. She's a talented person, and you take it personally. I mean, who wouldn't? Because you start comparing yourself to others. And then you say, Mel, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. And so you stop doing what you naturally, normally do, what you probably are known for. Um, and so that's how talent, I think, becomes a trap. It makes you feel, allergic to an uncomfortable middle. You don't like to be in the middle and be, speculated against or anything like that. And most of the goals, we have to recognize it's not one at the beginning. They're one in the middle when it's quiet. And I think, we've kind of talked about that before. What are you doing when nobody is clapping? And so I could say, even for myself, other people, I've watched, people with average skill, because like I said, you're comparing yourself again. You're comparing yourself and you're saying, they're gifted for one reason. They keep their promise. When you look at that person who's, that consistent, they keep their promise to themselves. They don't wait for inspiration. They show up on schedule. They do the work even when it's small. And honestly, sometimes it's not glamorous. It's not loud. And but that's when the consistency comes out and you realize it's a natural talent because you do it effortlessly. And we have to recognize that that's also a decision. And so over time, that decision builds that track record, and that track record builds that confidence. And confidence just works and produces better results. And so when you think about it, consistency is really compounding. And I know I'm talking about, we're saying a lot about consistency, but truly in this day and age, this is really what it's all about. Um, and so, yeah, let's go back to talent. Talent helps you start faster. Consistency will help you finish because of what it creates. I think, you when you have that skill, right? That skill that you create, that skill that you practice, that skill that kind of creates that feedback that shows that improvement, and ultimately what you're seeing is the results. Most people lose because they stay in the game too long, and they're not they're not seeing the results. They don't feel it. It's not emotional to them. And I think the real people reason we sometimes can't stay consistent is because we blame it on discipline. Like that was the issue. Like we have no discipline. Some people say we only have like a 5 seconds. Well, Jen, I mean, I think I might butcher this one. But some people, they have like an 8 second time span in there. You know, discipline is real issue in design. People need plans, and plans require not the perfect energy, not long blocks of time, but it does need motivation and no interruption. Otherwise, your plan fails. How people say if you don't plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Well, consistency requires a plan. And it's built for real life because sometimes we are busy doing things that will take our attention away from the things that we want to do. So we need to have, in real life, small enough goals, those small things that, we have that we could pull out of our back pocket for bad days, right? Clear enough so when we're thinking about it, we can truly fall back on what we know, like it's muscle memory. But more importantly, it's the keeping of the small promises to ourselves. So I think, if consistency didn't say life is easy, but sometimes that's the way it feels, right? But we have to find the things that I think for ourselves that set us a trigger. When we see ourselves going astray, what are some of the things that we need to do to bring us back to a place where we can continue to build and thrive, and really enjoy the fruits of our labor, right? Do we need to track it? Does it need to be a weekly thing? We know we don't need the motivation. We need the motivation, but we also need proof of what we're doing, that it actually works. And so I hope you're listening. And if you're listening, you don't need to be talented. You need to, maybe I would say, want to challenge yourself. Anything that we do, it's habits. It's, you want to show up better for yourself. You want to show up, and you can't honestly, you can't show up and still stay the same. Because you've changed. The person you are has changed. And again, it's all about how consistent you are in whatever you do, whatever habits you take on. Again, talents open the doors. Consistency keeps them open. So pick one daily thing that you want to do, and track it for the next 14 days. What does that look like to you? What does progress look like to you? And if you comment consistency in this chat, I will send you a 14-day consistency tracker. Let's see what that looks like. And I would love to hear from you about how you did and how something changed for you once you decided to focus on it and really put some effort behind it. I want to thank you, you guys for sticking with me this morning. We'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow, and hopefully giving you some more tips, tricks about things that we've been doing in this digital business. Bye-bye. Take care.